Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Tammy, Schaffer, Shike joining us here today live on the Zoom. So excited to have her back here to talk more about all the life coaching she does and provides. And again, we're going to talk more about her career, her work, and right now, how she could be of service to you. Welcome to the show today. How are you?
I'm great. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here. So tell us a little bit about the company and where did the name come from?
TSS transformation comes from the kind of coaching that I wanted to specialize in. We all get to those places in life where we get stuck. And so we need to transform into that life into something better. And maybe it's death, maybe it's a divorce, maybe it's an illness, maybe it's dealing with family, and we get stuck in those ruts. And so my job, lovingly, is to transform that situation into something better.
Beautiful. And how do we reach you?
Phone number is 812-249-0913. Email is Tammy, Tammy, at tsstransformation.com. You can reach me by private message at either Instagram or Facebook at TSS Transformation.
Perfect. Well, did you want to start off with letting people know what is a life coach and how you could be of service?
I would love that. So where life coach differs from therapy is my sole job is to be your advocate. Someone called me, one of my clients called me their cheerleader once, minus the pom-poms and the short skirt, I'm in. So that's my job. My job is to advocate for you. And so many times in our life, we're in life situations. And so we go to friends and we go to family and we talk about different issues that we have, but they all have sweat equity in us in some way. They will have an opinion based on maybe what they think is better for you, or maybe what they think works better in that arrangement of people that are involved in the situation. My job is just to advocate for you. So a life coach is there as that person to help you get from where you are to where you want to be.
Beautiful. Thank you. And how can you specifically help someone? Could you share some examples of the types of things you can help with?
Love that. Thank you. So, I mean, everybody has their own story, right? We write our own screenplays, but some of the interesting clients that I've had have been someone that was in a bad situation, a bad relationship. And those are hard because we fell in love with that person for a reason, right? Mm-hmm. And so even though friends and family and everyone come in and say, you know what, you need to change that, that's cool, except we're not ready. And so that's one of my favorite clients because it was a learning process. What she learned about herself through time was that she ultimately got to the place where she knew she wanted more. And then at that point was ready to let go. We hold on so tightly to things because that is what we know. And so learning to open that grasp is difficult and it's hard and it's scary. And so learning through trust that you can let go of something in order to receive something better, one of my favorites.
Excuse me.
Maybe it is a young divorced woman or man, in a couple of cases, that just don't want to make the same mistakes again, right? Like they look at that relationship and they go through and they do their checklist in their head. This didn't work. That didn't work. This didn't work. I don't want that again. And so we tend to kind of almost put those characteristics in new relationships because we're so afraid of having them again. And so being able to step back and look at who this new person is for who they are, that's a great way of using it. Maybe it's just breaking old habits, right? Like maybe it's a life thing where through life you have been able to, I don't want to say get away with things, but your family and your surroundings, the people that love you, have allowed certain behaviors because they've said, that's Fred, that's Cindy Lou, like that's who it is. And maybe those behaviors aren't serving you in the real world. And so then having someone honest sit across from you and say, okay, I hear that. How's that really working for you? That becomes a great place for a life coach to be.
Beautiful. Well, thank you for sharing that. And normally, is there a roundabout time how long it takes for someone to actually feel better, to actually start learning new tools, to get rid of old habits, begin new habits and patterns to help them?
every person is different, right? All humans we all have different thumbprints, but generally speaking, I do a 15-minute free introductory phone call. It's just something to see if you and I are a good match. Once we do that, then we set up one session. You pay for the one session. That's all we do. At the end of that, I believe that that's the point where the client either says, yes, I trust her. This feels good to me. Let's pursue. And I only set up my sessions session by session. Now, they can buy packages, but I think it's really important to not sign into something that you're afraid of. So generally speaking, I think 4 sessions are really good if there is one issue and we really want to look at one thing and get on top of that. Many of my clients, we baby steps, right? We take care of one thing and then they say, oh, well, that works so well. Now I'd like to talk about something else. We can certainly do that as well.
Perfect. Thank you so much for bringing that up. It's very important to know. Some people, though, say, well, what if I just messed everything up? Ugh.
Well, as long as we're breathing, that's not a thing, right?
Good. I love your positivity and your
because
positive mindset, which is important in this, right?
100%, because my goodness, if we're all judged by our failures, like we're all screwed, right? Like, because I think most of us have but I always say for myself, I think the best learning that I've done has been from the mistakes I've made, because then I can make a decision and say, don't want that again. So there is never a time that's too lost, as long as the desire to change is there. If you're good the way you are, I'm a really bad choice for you, because you don't want to change anything. Therefore, why are we doing this? Why are we talking about it? But if there is a desire to change, then I become that person that can cheer for you and let you know that there's something better on the other side.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. What about people, saying, I just don't feel like myself anymore? Can you help me? I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm a single mother of 2, 6 and 8, 24/7, no every other weekends, working, taking care of kids. I don't feel like myself anymore, that there's no time, and like the time management skills are horrible. And the piles are building up around the house, and it gives me, I have mental angst and anxiety. And it's like, I don't feel normal. I'm hoping this is temporary, but how could you start changing someone that maybe is so busy? And I'm not making excuses. It's really true. Just curious. And then let's talk about some other people who don't maybe feel like themselves and what goes on with them.
No, but let's use your example. I think
Okay.
many humans can identify with that, because we just get caught, right? So we're doing the same things every day and basically get up every day and just want to survive that day. And at the end of the day, we could make a list of the things we didn't get to, but we got to the end of the day. And so then we beat up on ourselves. Well, you talk about those piles. Well, that pile is bigger and that pile is bigger and that pile is bigger, but I didn't get to it. But oh my gosh, I'm exhausted. Well, what my thought for you is, and anyone in that situation, do nothing, get nothing. So if something isn't working in your life, it's like a platter, right? And so you're holding this great big platter and there's all the different problems on the platter. So it's this pile and this pile and this pile and this pile. That platter gets heavy. And so you're just trying to survive, and you've got to take care of the kids and you've got to do what they need. And then those needs are shifting daily, right? With a 6 and 8-year-old, they just don't sit compliantly in a corner and take up space. They need you. They need stuff every day. And that platter is heavier and heavier every day that you go through. So then what I would suggest, not on the air, but in your brain, to look at those piles and decide if there is one pile, and maybe it is the least important pile, but if there's one thing that you can do, maybe that exhaustion is just as much mental as physical. So then I would say, look to, is there something you do that just takes you out of your daily routine? Is it a bath? Is it 15 minutes of reading? Is it closing your eyes and listening to music? Like whatever your thing is, we all have the thing that we say, no, that's my thing. Then I've got news for you. That 6 and 8-year-old and every other pile on that table can lose you for 15 minutes. Nobody's going to bleed out. So take that 15 minutes for you and be able to just use that time, and you'll be surprised. I grew up hearing the word selfish, right? That's a terrible, terrible word. But as high functioning, heavily working humans, When we take ourselves out of that treadmill, then we feel, what's the word? Selfish. Well, no, I can't do that, Tammy, because, and then you could make me a list taller than me of all the reasons why you can't take that 15 minutes. And they would all be honest. And what I would tell you is, if I sat across from you, I'd tell you, nope, not true. Nope, nope, nope. And I would be adamant about the fact that 15 minutes, now maybe not 5 hours, right? Maybe not an hour, but 15 minutes, nobody's going to bleed out. And so once you learn to say, okay, I'm a priority, one of my very favorite phrases in coaching is, you get on the plane and you get seated and you get in your seat and you take your breath, and they give you all of the instructions, right? That we've heard 7.5 million times anytime you've flown. And one of the things they always say to us is, you put your oxygen mask on yourself
first. Yes, I love that.
before you put it on children or anyone you're traveling with. That's an axiom for life. If you're not taking care of you, you can't be the best for those people around you.
Yeah.
And so once you learn that it's not selfish, it's actually gratitude for the people in your life, because when you're better, you're going to enjoy them more, and you're going to be able to do more things, and you're going to be happier while you do them. Lord, it may be taking out the trash. Maybe you take out the trash and you take an extra 5 minutes and you just, breathe the air and take a deep breath and kind of think for a minute. Well, guess what? You can do that. And it's not selfish, because you need to be your best to be your best for the other humans in your life.
Beautifully said. Thank you so much. And we're about halfway through. It's always good to remind everyone who we're talking to. If you're just tuning in and they're like, who's this talking? Tell us how we can reach you.
Hi, my name is Tammy Shike. I'm a life coach that specializes in transformation. You can reach me at my cell, which is 812-249-0913. You can email me at Tammy, Tammy, at TSStransformation.com. You can visit my website at www.tsstransformation.com, or you can find me on Instagram and Facebook at TSS Transformation.
Perfect. And how does it work to make sure you find a good fit for both you and the client?
That's why that introductory phone call is so important. If there is, I had a phone call not too long ago with someone, a family member that was, there were drug issues, and the person wasn't wanting to change, and they were heavily ensconced into that world. That's not a Tammy thing. They need a doctor. They need professional help on that. And so, but as far as like living life and just life not working well, hi, pick me. That's where my skill comes in.
Thank you so much. And is there any obligation to a minimum number of sessions?
Nope. We do the introductory phone call, which is 15 minutes, $0. And then the first session is $95. And then if that's all it takes and you're fixed and it's good, that's all you have.
Thank you so much. Well, also let's talk about, is there different, what if someone has different topics? Is that okay to bring up? And
1,000%. Like it's like my platter theory. So we talk about all the things that are weighing you down. Then we pick one to concentrate on first, because if we disperse into everything, we'll accomplish nothing. But if we start one at a time and we make some progress there, then it becomes, okay, so what do we want to talk about next? And we can systematically work through those things. I find, funny story, I find that when we find that first bit of success, the platter is lighter. And it can be a dumb thing, right? It can be the, not dumb, but it can be an easy thing. Like the analogy that we used on finding 15 minutes for yourself. You'll be surprised at what that does for you. So it's interesting how that one thing then pushes out into many different areas. And we just
thank you so much. All right. And I like New Year's. We're here in the holidays, new start. But when is a good time to start? Is it always now? Always like I don't believe really too much New Year's resolutions, but we're here. We could do it for some people.
I'm so glad you brought that up. So, start anytime, start when you're ready, is the answer to that question. When you're ready, and there isn't a bad time to be ready. So whether it's today on the 22nd, or whether it's the 1st or the 2nd and starting a new year, there's never a bad time to advocate for yourself. So that's my answer to that. Let's talk about New Year's resolutions. So there again, it's that platter theory. We get to New Year's resolutions and we say, okay, I want to fix this and 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 this in my life, right? And we make that list. And the first day we are so excited. We're pumped. We're ready. We've got it figured out. And we start. What happens is we get tired, because then that same scenario that you talked about earlier of taking care of the kids and taking care of the house and the piles and the work and all of the things, and that resolution or those resolutions become really low priority. So I advocate, instead of New Year's resolutions, which tend to be temporal, my thought is, why can't we pick one thing that you want to do better? And why don't we work on that one thing and change that for the rest of your life? Then if there are other things, cool, we work on those. But I think we muddy the waters in, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. It's the first of the year and I'm going to change 400 things about me. I'm just going to be a completely different person, except you're not. So this way, if you feel better about one thing, then it will make you, it leads into, well, I'm feeling better. So maybe I would like to think about a different diet. Maybe I would like to change my exercise pattern. Maybe I would like to work on my mental health and journal, or whatever that works for you. That's how that works, instead of that New Year's resolution high.
Got it. And do you want to share a little bit about what pant size logic actually is? We talked about that, but for new timers.
One of my favorites. So pant size logic is just, for me, it was going in and looking at the pant size when I'm having a day where I feel that I'm not that size and that number. And I look at the pants and I go, okay, that's actually who I am. But it can be anything for anybody. It's being able to employ logic in sometimes an illogical situation. So you're having a bad day, and not you, but like I'm having a bad day and I'm the worst mother and I'm the worst wife and I'm the worst this and I'm the worst that. And I do those things to myself. And I think, oh my goodness, like I'm a failure. That's all there is to it. So if I can go to one thing, if I can look at my kid and go, well, you know what? Didn't turn out so bad, right? I got her there. She's an adult human and she's still breathing, and so am I. And there were days when she was growing up, I wasn't sure which way that was going to go. So I can use that as logic and look at it and go, okay, so my thoughts that tend to run away, let's find a piece of logic to dispute that, to bring me back to reality.
Thank you so much. And what about, a lot of us suffer with self-esteem, not feeling good enough, not feel that we measure up, and feel like failures sometimes. Could you explain that?
Absolutely. So it's always interesting. I had a client that came in. We did the 15-minute introductory phone call. And one of the things she said about herself was that she was very heavy. Well, I heard her. And so then I had a perception in my head as to who this human was going to be when she came in for her first appointment. She was heavy. She had let herself go. These were self-descriptive words, right? Like these weren't things that I put on her. So this beautiful human walks through my door. And I look at her and she said, did I do something wrong? Like immediately she put it on her, right? And I'm like, no, I'm looking at who you are, not based on what you've told me, but based on what I'm seeing. And the point to that is, I think we do that. I think we decide these bad things about us, right? Like whatever that is. In her case, she decided she was heavy and not attractive. She walks in and I'm like, oh my goodness, what a beautiful woman. It's being able to open. So where I come in is I'm the reality check. I will never lie. It's not my thing. Baloney is not my thing. But I can talk to you based on what I see. And what I always say is, look, I'm entitled to my own opinion. You can have yours, and I'm going to nurture that with you, but I'm entitled to mine, and mine is not wrong because it's my opinion. So if I look at you, you say to me, I'm a mess. I look at you, we talk, and I say, no, instead of a mess, you're kind of a master at juggling 400 things. I'm entitled to that opinion. And that allows my client to really start focusing differently on perhaps who they are, because I can do it based on logic. I'm not doing it based on sensitivity. Oh my goodness, you're just the best. That's not my thing. I will base my things based on logic so that they can start looking at things differently and take some of that failure. It's a burden. It makes us heavy. Take some of that and get rid of it.
Thank you so much. All right. Well, we still have the 6 minutes left in your show today. What else did you want to add about you and the work you're doing? And by the way, you're based out of where again?
Indiana, but most of my clients are on Zoom, so that's easy. If you're close and want to live, we can do that. But many of my clients are on Zoom. We set those appointments up, and they work just like this. It's pretty easy.
Perfect. All right. And how many years have you been doing this for? Just for those new timers, to tell us a little bit about why you chose to go into this field.
Only about a year and a half. However, I've been in coaching for all of my career, and there's something I always tell someone that I'm going to work with in coaching, whether it be life coaching or another kind, is that my only job is to make you your best. My job is not to do whatever you're doing. My job is to make you your best. If you shine, I've done my job well. And so that's where coaching comes in. As far as life coaching, it fell into my lap in a lot of God wink kind of way. And it was the right thing for me. But it's a relatively new piece of my life. And it has, for one of my faults, because I have a ton as well, is I tend to be a clock watcher. I tend to know what I'm doing at that moment and what I need to do next and next and next and next. And life coaching has taught me that when I'm working with a client, my worst habit as a life coach is forgetting to watch the clock. I get so engrossed in who this person is and the privilege that they are sharing who they are with me, that I lose all track of time. So that's why I got into it. That's how I do it. And that's where I know that it's the right place for me.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much. It's really exciting to have you here, and to remind everyone, TSStransformation.com. We still have some time. Could you just share a client experience or two with us as well? I think that's always resonates with us well.
Absolutely. Let's talk about stress of the holidays.
That's a good one.
So I've had clients that come in and they're already anticipating, right? We anticipate what's next. We all do it. I'm a big person that does that. So I try to prepare myself. But what happens in that is we prepare ourselves based on the screenplay that we write out in our head. So I'm going to go, and Mom, Aunt Gladys, whoever it is going to say something because they always do, right? And so we have battened down the hatches and we're ready for her to say it, except we're not ready because she's going to do her, she's going to play her part. And I haven't done anything to change mine. So then I get mad, or I get sad, or I get hurt, or I get whatever I get every time these things happen. So instead of just continuing to spin, what I have my clients do, it's crazy, is work on CAT. So E stands for change.
Okay.
So in that scenario, someone's going to come visit me at my house and say something nasty about some food I make, right? And so I know that's going to happen. So then I think about, all right, well, how do I want that? I want to diffuse that situation. I want that situation to change. A stands for act. So what am I going to do about it? So then I figure out what I'm going to say to her instead of nasty, instead of blowing up the holiday. What am I going to say? Oh my goodness, thank you for that. I hadn't thought of doing it that way. Let me give that some thought. Now, I'm a person that never lies. So I'm not going to say to her, you betcha, I'm going to do that, because I'm probably not going to. But what I've done in that moment is I validated her by saying, I heard you. Let me think about that. Now, maybe I've thrown it out immediately in my head, but that's going to be my action. And then T is then making sure that I follow together, then we follow through with that and make sure that we have what we need. So she's been validated. Together, I have acted and I have decided what the change needs to be. And then we've been in this together. So she walks away not angry. I walk away because I've diffused the situation, and Christmas is saved, or the holidays are saved, or whatever it is. That's my, and we've done a lot of that lately, is, oh my goodness, I know this is going to happen. Well, you're the only change that we can make, because guess what? We're not going to change her. We're not going to change him. So what can you do to change your reaction to diffuse the situation? And that's a great one for right now.
Well, thank you so much. Pleasure having you back. And unfortunately, we are out of time now. Could you share the best form of contact with us?
Absolutely.
Thanks.
So Phone number is 812-249-0913. Email is tammy@tsstransformation.com. Website is www.tsstransformation.com. And you may reach me on Instagram or Facebook at TSS Transformation.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Pleasure to have you here. And Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year to everyone. And I hope you enjoy your holiday with your family. Okay.
Thank you so much. You as well.
Thank you so much. And to all of our listeners, please stay tuned. More of the show's coming right up after the break. Bye-bye.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.